So, hello, John.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Very good, yeah, just waiting to go play a gig in about 1 hour in Leeds.
Oh, yeah. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So, a great friend of yours returns with a new live album, Polystyrene.
Yeah. I know Polly for about 10 years. And we played a gig with the last year at the Roundhouse in London. And it's getting released as a live DVD. Comes out this week.
Yeah.
It was a great gig, actually. I think they haven't played for 30 years. The band sound fantastic, and her voice sounds amazing. But it's quite hard to sing that kind of really full-on style.
Yeah,
to actually come back and do it after all this time is quite impressive.
Okay, John, so The North Will Rise Again, got a great book really about the Manchester music scene. Can you tell us some details, about Tony Wilson, maybe Factory Records, about the Manchester music scene?
One of the most interesting things about the Manchester music scene is how all the bands knew each other and it all really overlapped.
Yeah.
So you start the key punk gig when the Sex Pistols played in 1976, and that's when all these people got inspired to do all this other stuff afterwards, like Morrissey was there, Tony Wilson, obviously the Buzzcocks because they were supporting, and all this kind of energy that got unleashed by the Sex Pistols. It's still there now, like years later. In fact, she was like the key label in Manchester. That was Tony's label, Tony Wilson.
Yeah.
And they got famous obviously because of the Joy Division, Happy Mondays records. But what's fascinating about Factory is all the smaller bands, the bands that aren't quite as famous, like the Ricky Column, Stockholm Monsters, Crispy Ambulance, these Section 25. A lot of these groups made some really great records. It's well worth investigating.
John, Steve Dickel told me once that the Manchester Free Trade Hall gig was a kind of shock to the system. Do you think so?
What, playing in Manchester?
Yeah.
Oh, the Sex Pistols gig?
Yeah.
I think it was. I mean, a lot of people say that seeing Sex Pistols in 1976, it totally changed their lives. A lot of it's by the attitude of the bands, because I think bands before that had gone on stage and they wanted people to like them. Johnny Rotten obviously didn't care, and he was standing there insulting the crowd. But when they played in Manchester, they got such a good reaction. He was actually quite moved by it. I think Manchester it's like one of the great punk rock cities.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it became the second city of punk. And that gig took punk out of London, and it kind of gave it to the rest of the world in a sense. It's established a punk scene outside the kind of trendy London punk scene and showed other cities how to do it.
Yeah. John, I have a John Peel Sessions tribute radio show here on the way pretty soon. Can you tell me about John Peel?
John Peel was really key because I'm sure for the younger listeners it's hard to imagine a world where you can't hear records that you're reading about because of the internet, because you can look everything up on MySpace now or Spotify. All the information's there for you, but for us, growing up in the 70s and through the 80s, John Peel was a lifeline because you could actually hear all these records, and I think he's really influential. Not particularly because of anything he made, because he didn't make anything else, but the records he played, because he made all this kind of really great music that would never actually get a look at anywhere else. You would never hear anywhere else. And he was playing it to people, and it was a really diverse selection of music. It was like punk, post-punk, like a lot of dub reggae, African music. It's a really great mixture of music. So I think if you want to learn how to be a really good DJ, he's a really good template, he's a really good person to learn from, because he's enthusiastic, and he's also very knowledgeable. And also very funny as well, he wasn't, like we heard him talking.
Yeah. And very honest.
A lot of time people say it was actually better to hear his voice than the records in between.
Yeah. So, John, from Sounds, Melody Maker to Sunday Times, Guardian, Independent, and of course, you are the first person in the world to interview Nirvana. Singer, songwriter, radio DJ. Can we say that, first of all, you are a do-it-yourself person, after all?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that came out of punk rock was do it yourself. And what inspired us was the Buzzcocks' first single, the Spar Scratch EP.
Yeah.
And I remember somebody bringing it to school, and it looked really homemade, and we didn't realise records could be homemade before that. Records are things that like big famous rock stars made. You didn't realise some group you never heard of could make a record. I know people before that had done that, but for our generation, for people I knew, that was a really important record, and it sounded like it recorded in somebody's bedroom. And the idea that you can make music just the way you wanted and release it yourself was great. And for like the whole period after that, there's like so many records came out with that kind of attitude that you made music the way it sounded good to you. Didn't have to follow any rules. And that DIY ethic is something that I think I took for me, it's a really big thing I took from punk. The idea you shouldn't be scared of anything. You can do anything you want, really, and I think that's what punk did. It empowered people and gave them a self-belief. And it kind of opened up the media and music to like loads of people who wouldn't normally be allowed into it.
Okay, John, thank you very much for your time. We'll be in contact anyway, okay?
Okay, it's great speech. It's always great speech.
Okay, me too.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.